Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
What's your name? I'm Stass, by the way.
Um, my, my name is Ming. You can call me in English. My,
I'll just call you Ming. It's fine. And can you please have the camera on? Okay. How's it going, Ming? How are you doing today?
everything is going well.
Right. Can you tell me a bit about your past experience with IELTS? Have you ever taken the test?
Wait, can you say?
Have you ever taken the official IELTS test in the past?
No, I didn't. I have only done one time, but
Have you ever taken a mock test before?
yes, I have.
And what was the score, the speaking score that you got? Do you remember your speaking score from the mock test?
It's quite a long time, so I can't really remember my score,
All right.
but I estimate it to be like 5. Yeah.
All right. And what's your target?
I think my goal is to reach 8.0.
What about speaking? The speaking band, like 8 in total, and the speaking band, the speaking score.
Oh,
What would you like?
I
Well, 6,
think
7.
about like 7.5 because sometimes I'm not really into speaking.
Okay, no problem. But you sure that's realistic for you? When is the test? When are you taking the test?
Wait, give me a second. I have to ask my mom.
Okay.
I did the test in British Council like 1 years ago. 1 year ago.
You have taken the IELTS test?
N- no, that, no, it's just a trial. Yeah,
Okay, but
to test my.
well, what's your like when is your next test? When do you plan to take the IELTS test?
The following month. I am going to have the next test exactly like 20th of May.
So 1 month from now, right? 1 month from now, on the 20th of May. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so if there is a possibility, if you can, it is best to move the date so you have more time to prepare. Because 1 month to practice from, let's say, level 5 or 5.5 or 6 to 7.5 is not quite enough. It's not going to be enough time on average. I have helped a lot of people, and I can tell you that it's best to have more time. So if you can ask your parents if it's possible for you to move the date, let's say 1 month or a couple of weeks further, then that will be very helpful for you.
No,
That will increase the
actually,
chances of getting a higher score.
actually, this the fully the test that I am going to take. It's just for
A trial test, like
no
to try and see what you get.
to apply for a school, a high school.
Okay, to apply for school. Well, I understand. So that's the latest you can take it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, that's clear about speaking. Okay, so I understand about speaking. Now I would like to ask you about writing. I also can help you with writing, IELTS writing. Would you like that?
I, I believe I would like to have.
Because we can practice both speaking and writing as well. But for that, we will definitely need more time. So we'll see if you can schedule like a few more extra lessons just for writing, because we can't really combine within the given time. Speaking and writing is not enough time, right? But if you want to practice writing, we can do that as well. You can discuss this with your parents later, right? And think about how to structure your schedule, your time. Think about how important IELTS is for you. If it is, then we can practice both, and I'll guide you on how to write task 1, task 2. I'm really good at that. I've been doing this for a while. But if you want just speaking, then I understand, no problem. So well, let's see. Let's begin. Let's pick a topic. Just want to test your ability to speak, and I just want you to pick a topic that seems a little difficult here. So we've got different parts and different kind of topics here. I've got more down here. This is part 3 mostly, a bit of part 2 as well. So whatever you find difficult, let's start off with that.
I, I, I don't know. I think you can choose for me.
I just don't know what you find difficult, right? So I guess I can pick it, but well, let's talk about describing a trip then. Well, I was hoping you could give me more insight into how well you know these things. But okay, let's start with a bit of warm up, just pronunciation practice. You will see some words, and I would like you to say the original word and the word with an S ending if it exists. So, for example, here we have tie and
Uh,
plural ties. Please, tie ties.
Guys,
Same for B.
die, dies,
Good. Next.
tons, done,
Ton, tons.
and yeah, and
Done.
then
Done. There's no S with done, right? So just done.
yeah,
Next.
touches,
Touch. Touches.
touches,
Yeah, the original as well, please.
greens and drains.
Okay. All right, that's enough. I can hear that you know how to say that. Let's move on to the vocabulary. So, pretty simple. Talking about transportation, we need to
Yes,
know types of transport, right?
yeah.
Let's see, which one is the one that you've never used here?
Um, no, nothing I have never used before. Use
Okay. What is the second most common for you and your relatives or your in your circle of friends?
on foot.
So that's the second most common, right? Going somewhere on foot. Why is it less common?
Because of the fact that my mother always pick me up and take me to school every day.
You said
I rarely, I
my
rarely
mother always what?
always take
You
me
said
to school.
pick me up or take me to school. What's wrong with that?
S yeah, picks. I mean picks. Yeah,
Picks picks me up. All right.
and takes me to school
So and that's why you
by
don't.
car.
Okay. What's the least popular method in where you live for people that live in your area in your hometown? Least popular way of transportation.
Um, it is actually plane.
Not
The
ferry.
least no plane.
Okay, why? Why don't people do that? Why don't they fly more often? Why do people not prefer to fly?
I'm not really sure, but I am. My house is really far from the airport. That's
Okay.
that's the reason why.
Perhaps it's too expensive, or because people rarely go outside of the country, or they rarely go to other cities. They rarely have business trips outside. Okay. Let's see. Next, some ways to describe travel. Yeah. Have you had? Do you have any exciting trips in mind that you have had, or maybe something you've
Many,
heard, like you've heard of exciting trips?
many. I think
Manny, what's the most exciting trip you remember?
the the most exciting trip that I have ever experienced is the trip when my mother used the car to take me from Hanoi to Nha Trang.
Okay.
No, I say have ever experienced the
Well, you should pronounce it better, right?
Yeah.
Careful with the ending. Experienced. Yeah, Trang, what's that in English?
No, it's a name of a
So tell me about the place in English. What is it?
I don't really know.
Well, how come you've been there, right? So it's obviously it's a river, right? A river with
No, no.
nothing near it. Well, what do you mean? No. So you know then, you can explain, right?
Nha Trang is I will describe it, but it is it's just a city like Hanoi, but it is not a capital, and also Nha Trang has beautiful beautiful beaches and a lot of cuisines. Yeah,
So that
it is.
that's you mean what?
That's what I'm going to say.
So it's a city with
Beautiful beaches and
beaches.
amazing
Longer
cuisine.
E, please. Beaches.
Yeah,
Beaches, please. Can you pronounce that?
beaches,
Beaches.
beaches,
Longer beaches.
be- beaches.
And
Amazing cuisines.
amazing. Do they have varied cuisines there? Just like many types of them? Or is it just the local Vietnamese cuisine? Is there, are you talking about like one Vietnamese cuisine or different types of cuisines?
I'm talking about different types of cuisine, but I can't really re- really remember the cuisines.
Okay, just making sure you understand, right?
Yes.
And a city where in
In which, in like where is like in
where
which?
where is it?
Oh, of course, of course, it is in Vietnam.
What do you mean, of course? So you think the examiner, who is probably not familiar with Vietnam at all, you think they will know that it's of course a city in Vietnam?
Uh,
A person who's maybe only been to one city in Vietnam ever, like Hanoi, you think they will know for sure? Maybe they're visiting only for a month or one time, or even maybe they just never travel. So they don't know that, right? And they might not hear it very well because it's Vietnamese. It's a Vietnamese name. So you shouldn't say it.
oh,
It's a city in Vietnam.
yeah, Vietnam.
And what kind of city is it? So an industrial city full of factories, right?
Music. I am trying to remember suitable words, suitable words for this city.
Suitable words.
No, no, I mean a suitable word. Yeah,
Well, you will not have that much time during the test, so whatever can you say that would be better than nothing.
an unforgettable city.
Hmm. Well, that's not really like, the norm, right? For most people that visit it, mostly your personal opinion. What can you say that would just be a fact instead of an opinion? Like, right, you say, in my view, that city is unforgettable. That's an additional detail. But what is a fact about the city that you can say? What do they have like there that you can use to define it with? So is it an industrial city? Is it a city of, for example,
It's
universities
not
or
industrial.
mines? Hmm?
It's not an industrial city
Eh,
or
well, then what is it? A touristy seaside city, right?
tourist, as he said.
Well, yeah,
So
okay. So we don't use names. Don't use yet names in IELTS. Use English instead. Yeah? Hanoi is the only exception because it's the capital name, right? The name of the capital. And Vietnam is the name of the country in English too, so that's fine. You need to explain that. But explaining the rest is necessary. And you don't need to say the name ever. So you could say traveling what? From Hanoi? I remember traveling from Hanoi to, come on.
I remember travel from Hanoi to Nha Trang or
No, we don't say the name. You don't need to say the name.
to tourists.
To a seaside city in Vietnam, right? In central Vietnam. Yeah?
Even it's southern.
Okay, southern. I thought it was central. You can, if you don't know, like when preparing for IELTS, if you want to talk about specific locations or dishes or other traditional stuff in Vietnam, you should use the Wikipedia in English. They have almost everything. As you can see here, you can pick up a lot of vocabulary. So it's south central coast of Vietnam. So it is central and so on and so forth. Just pick up some basic information. You don't need to remember all of the difficult stuff, but you can remember some basic information, right? And almost everything um, you can find here in Wikipedia in English. Yeah. There's even like cool facts like etymology, right? So why it was called this way specifically, not another way, right? So yeah. So that was about an exciting trip. Hmm. So that trip, what other adjectives can you use to describe it?
Relaxing trip.
Was there something boring during that trip that you remember? Some boring parts?
From the start to the end, there is no boring parts.
There were no boring parts.
Parts.
So from start to the end, there is no boring parts. What's wrong here? Let's say past events, right? So what's missing? What's wrong here?
Of course, I know. And there was no
There
boring.
were,
There was no boring parts.
well, parts plural, right? So were, yeah? There were no boring parts. The boring parts were not there. Well, anything terrible happened? You're thinking too slowly,
Trip
right?
prepared carefully, so there is no danger.
There again, is it a
There
past
was no
event?
danger.
There wasn't, but it doesn't have, well, first of all, even if you prepare carefully for something, it doesn't mean it will go smoothly without anything terrible happening. It's not guaranteed. It's not about preparation. It just can happen no matter what, right? But okay, and now, so you're saying these things did not happen. Then can you think of a trip that was boring, or like that, a regular trip that you make that is boring, maybe?
There are many boring trips.
For example, just
For
one.
example, the trip when I go to which I to went to the museum. Yeah,
Which museum? You said the museum. The trip, something boring, right? I went to the museum. A trip. Let's say a trip to the museum. The indicates this, that. So just fix it. No need to think too long. Whatever comes to mind is probably the right solution.
the Vietnam Cultural
Just
Museum.
a museum, right? I went to a museum. What do you call a? A trip. I remember a trip, boring trip to a museum, and then you can later talk a bit more about it. You know
About a particular
what?
place, but I want to say Vietnamese. I know of the Vietnam National Museum, a cultural museum.
Right? Well, you can say that, but you don't have to. You don't even have to try to remember that because it takes time, and you don't have time in IELTS. You know, the worst thing you can do in IELTS is what?
Thinking over time, or
No, it's just being silent. Being silent is the worst thing. So as long as you are silent, you're just wasting time, and you shouldn't do that. It's okay to think though. Like there are some times that you need to think, but you don't usually have that much time to think. So it's not a good habit to have to think for a very long time. So just learn how to answer faster, a little bit sooner, right? But of course, you still need to think it over, not too fast, but still. Okay, so why was it boring? Quick.
uh, because it is the same place uh, we went over and over again in the past.
We used to visit many times, right?
Yes.
This applies. All right, you've been to many times, and that's why it's boring. Anything terrible? Any terrible trips you remember? Terrible? Well, I hope you understand, right? But if not, you can ask.
Terrible trip. I have a terrible trip, which
The most terrible trip I remember was
the most terrible trip that I remember was the trip when I also went to Nyak to
to a town, to a city located far away from my hometown, right? It doesn't even matter. Like, IELTS is not about specific things. It's about whatever you can think of, the English that you can think of. So it doesn't matter. where exactly Nha Trang is or what Nha Trang is. You can add things that are not true about it, about Nha Trang. You can say whatever comes to mind first. It's a circus town, you can say. Who cares? You're using English and it makes sense. So that's better than trying to remember the exact word, the exact real thing. No need, yeah? So, okay, continue.
The trip to the touristy site place where I lost my glasses, my backpack, and a book.
Why was it terrible?
I have lost so many things, especially essential parts of my
Especially
life,
lost? Are you saying especially lost?
especially essential things that
Especially
I need.
essential. Okay, I see. That's why it was terrible. Okay. Hmm. Well, all right. The rest, I think you understand, right? Can you think of an uncomfortable trip or thing that happened during a trip? Uncomfortable could be, anxious. I mean, something causing anxiety, making you anxious or awkward, or it can mean like physically uncomfortable, right? So mentally or physically.
Mm,
A
there,
thing or the whole trip.
all the trips,
No, I mean a whole one full trip or a thing during any trip that made you feel uncomfortable.
all the trips I have had has no terrible or I know uncomfortable experience.
Hmm. Well, but okay, so that's the real thing, the reality. But you can now think of something unreal. You could say, well, like you need to learn, like if you remember a word, it's a good idea to immediately use it as a detail, even if it wasn't true. So you could say the trip was amazing overall, but one uncomfortable thing I remember is, or was, maybe the seats in the car or in a bus or something. Or I remember an uncomfortable experience while speaking to some people, maybe some staff or some strangers somewhere, right? You can remember, I mean, you could immediately start using that when a word pops up in your head, even if it's not truly relevant. It doesn't matter that it wasn't true. It didn't happen. It doesn't matter, right? You could still use that word and immediately make a sentence with it. So think of a thing that was dangerous, for example, or trip. The whole trip could be dangerous, or some specific part could be dangerous, or a thing.
If I wasn't wrong, then there there's a trip where on which I have been to the province, and there is a lake there, and it, it is really polluted, and I even tried to swim there, but luckily somebody stopped me from swimming there, so it's really a dangerous trip.
It was very dangerous. It was a dangerous lake or whatever. Yeah. All right. I mean, dangerous part of the trip was there. Okay. All right. So
Was
that's, huh?
stay too close to the lake, the polluted lake. Yep.
All right. So the key in IELTS, you understand, right, is to speak spontaneously. What does it mean? We can check.
Spontaneously means
Okay.
I can't explain.
Well, right. So it means something that you produce immediately as it pops up, and you will have a lot of ideas in your head while speaking, and you will probably not want to use all of them because you'll probably want to use only the ideas that would make you that would be true to the story, right? But it's not how we should answer. You should answer um, just use whatever comes to mind, right? Whatever tools you have in your hand, just use them immediately. Try to think of a way to put it to use. Any words, because you don't have time to search for the right word. You just don't have time. And you will be too stressed. You might never, even giving yourself 5 minutes to think, you might never come to that word that you used to know or something. So all you need to do is answer with what you have in your head, right? That pops up, the things that pop up. Just use them. That's the only way.
I have just blurted out all the things that comes across my mind.
Sorry, what?
That is all that are all the things that come to my mind. Yes, about the lake. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about in general. I'm not talking about this specific thing you're talking about. I'm talking about anytime you're answering a part, I mean, any question and answer, just use the first word that pops up. Try to adapt it to the situation. All right, now let's see. Here we have a very simple topic with a very simple model answer because it's like the lowest level. I just wanted to see if you can clear that. Trip you took in the past. Let's take a look at this model answer and we'll check it, right? So analyze it. The key is that it's relatively simple, so you don't need that much to get a very high score in speaking. You just need to be confident and speak naturally, right? Connecting the words. So try to read this for me with good intonation and sounding alive, okay?
I'm
Please.
going to tell you
Mhm.
about a trip I took in Europe. The transportation I used was an old car. It had room for three people to sit in the back and three people in the front. We put all our camping things and our bags in pack back too. It was pretty uncomfortable. We decided to use the car because we thought it would be more fun. I traveled with six people. We were all our friends, so we knew we had a good time together. We started in England and went to Spain. The best part of the trip was how exciting it was. We saw so many interesting things. Also, it was a really trip way to travel. We often just slept in the car by the side of the road and bought our food at supermarkets.
Mhm.
And the worst part of the trip was the driving. We weren't used to driving on the right hand side of the road, so it felt bit dangerous sometimes, especially driving through big cities. Also, the car broke down at one point, and we spent 3 days living on the side of the road. That was terrible. I have lovely memories of this trip because Europe was so beautiful. Altogether, it was warm, sunny, and relaxing, and the food was delicious.
Okay, cities.
Cities,
No,
cities,
cities.
cities,
Longer cities.
cities.
Okay. So, what do you think about this? Is it difficult to answer like this?
I don't really think it's that difficult.
Well, so this answer can get a 9, you know?
9.0?
Yes, of course. So it depends on how you speak, right? It depends on you and your confidence. If you think you are terrible, you will speak like that. If you think you're good enough to get a high score, you will get it. So confidence is very important. Practice is, of course, important. Like, this is not hard to come up with, but it perhaps would be hard to deliver. Like, you can think of this, but you might not be able to speak like that, right? So what you need is practice to get there. And you don't need any difficult vocabulary to sound good. Yeah? Well, the important part is to follow the plan. You get the plan, you just follow it. Let's see who you traveled with and when. Here we've got, I don't think it was when.
People, and we were all friends.
The
And
3
we
people, people, where the people were, who they were. Where's friends? Yeah, here. This is all about who, and here as well a bit. I don't see when, so that's something you could add compared to this answer. Type of transportation, a car with some details here, more details about the car. There's, yeah, okay. Transportation was clearly explained there, they described. The best and worst parts, best part, worst part, easy, not much. But details are important. So most people would just say something like this, right? It was exciting and there were many interesting things, right? But expanding is, it's not hard, but you forget. People forget, right? Also, it's a very good connective. Things like also, do you use it? Do you use also as a connective or not when you speak? Well, try to use it. If you can use it, then you'll sound better. So things like this is what gives your answer an 8, 9, well, 7.5, right? It's a really cheap way to travel, slept in the car, bought our food at supermarkets. You see simple things like and, they already make a sentence longer and it makes it sound more natural. So do that more. Same here, right? You would probably say the worst thing was sitting in the car and driving. I didn't like it, right? But the details is what makes it good, the answer. So you have not used to this thing, felt dangerous because of that, and this was one event, and notice how short it is, right? You don't need to talk about this like car breaking down for long, right? You just mention it quickly, right? One time a car broke down, so we felt terrible. We spent a lot of money, and it wasn't nice. And that's it. You don't need to talk more about that. It's a quick note, like quick detail. The key is again to follow what?
traveled with and when.
No, follow the topic card questions. The questions here. Just follow them one by one carefully. Yeah. You have to follow. You have to tell me about each of these parts here. And well, yeah, that's it. We have some useful language here. So you can start with what?
Tell you about, can I say like what I'm about to tell you is about? I know it's,
Again?
for example, a trip um to some places, or
So what's your full sentence, please? Full sentence.
what I'm about to tell you is a trip which I had a lot of, I had bad experience.
Well, you can't tell a trip. You said, I will tell a trip. You could say, I'll tell you a story about a trip. I'll tell you about. What I'm going to tell you about is a trip. Well, I guess, yes, if you carefully structure that, what I'm going to tell you about, well, what I'm going to tell you about now is a time when I had a trip somewhere, right? So, like that, okay. But why do you have to make it complicated if you fail? So just use something easy for now. At home, when you practice, you'll use something more advanced. So please finish the sentence.
I want to tell you about a trip when which I had bad experience, had bad and terrible experience.
Again, full sentence.
I'm going to tell you about a trip which I had
That's it?
bad and a terrible and horrified experience memories.
So this is how you speak, yeah? Does it make sense? You can't make one sentence. You see, that's the problem. You don't have enough speaking practice. You have 1 month until the test, and you need to be able to speak in part 2 and in part 3, and you need to make sense, right? That's the hard part, and it will be stressful for you. So we will need to do a lot of homework and a lot of lessons together, okay? You don't need to even work too hard. You just need to practice a lot, like do a lot. Instead of difficult things, you should do easy things, but many, many times. Understand? And that will lead you to a good score. It's easy, but you need time for that. Got it?
I get it, but
Well,
the next one I just want to reach 5.5 because my mother said that 5.5 5.5 out of 9 is enough for apply for one, like 1 point to my dream school. Yeah,
5.5 in total or in speaking?
speaking.
In speaking. Okay, so you've changed now from 7.5 to 5.5.
Yes, because 8.0, I mean, I want to tell that 8.0 is the far future out, the like the long term goals and ambition that I want to reach when I can be like in college or in university, because I don't feel like putting it to putting myself under pressure to play a pressure
Right now, I get it.
too much.
Yeah, okay. Well, still, for even for 5.5, it's you need to have sentences that make sense. So please, again, try to make a sentence. I'm going to tell you,
Makes sense.
yeah, just finish the sentence in a way that makes sense. Let's go. Just speak. You don't need to think too hard.
I'm going to tell you about a terrible and horrific trip that I had when I was 5 years old.
All right, that's much better, right? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you about a trip or Terrible trip I had when I was 5. Yeah, so much better. Next. Don't think too long. You don't have that much time usually, right?
The transport I used was um, uh, an old bicycle, an
Ok-
old metal bicycle.
Okay, so now you need to add a detail to that. So transportation I used was an old bicycle. That's too short. So you can either make the sentence longer or, well, at least add another sentence as a detail, you know?
Sport I used was an old metal bicycle, which I have been using for a long time to travel to many many heritages and museums that I want to go,
Which I
which I have
finish, please.
to many heritages and museums.
Like this. Heritage. It's an advanced word. Um, Usually, like country's heritage means qualities, traditions, features of life. You can't really travel there. That's like the most common thing, right? Heritage, historic building, or paintings. That's heritage. Yes, but it's mostly like as a sort of like a memory of like a part of history, right? Rather than like a place. Um, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. The rest is
Was a historic place.
legacy, inheritance, right? Yeah, so historic places sounds better. Yeah, heritage, especially with in the plural form, not a good. Doesn't sound great, or not a good choice. So which should be what? Which I had used past perfect before the time in the past, right?
Yes.
Past perfect. I had used by that time, right? By that point.
No, I say at first at the beginning I say I have been using because I am still I have been still I hope no I have been using it for like 5 years.
So
So
still had been using had, yes? Because because it doesn't matter if you're still using it. The point is that you're telling a story about that particular time. And before that time, that's all past perfect. Yeah? Understand? So it's probably maybe better not to even use it, like the structure. Since it's hard to understand, maybe better to use something simple. You could say something like, well, I use an old, so it was an old bicycle, and it was old and rusty, or maybe not rusty, all right, it was old and heavily used from many trips to many different places. And you don't even need to use past perfect if you don't understand how it works. Or you can research past perfect and try to train yourself to use it better, which I had been using to travel to lots of places. Okay. Um, Now that's better, right? So you've expanded the sentence. It's really good. This is exactly what we need to get a higher score. Get it?
yeah,
So it's a simple thing, Don't speak in short sentences. Expand them or connect them together in writing and speaking. All right.
Can you give me a second to close the
Okay.
door
Of
because
course. No problem. Well, okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this here for you. And I want you to use it as a part of your homework together with,
can I ask a
well,
question?
sorry, what?
Can I ask the question?
Of course.
Um, do IELTS examiners give you like can be 20 or 30 seconds to prepare?
Okay, so in part 2, you get exactly 1 minute to prepare.
1 minute.
You get 1 minute to prepare, 60 seconds to write down ideas on paper. And you never get more or less. That's only for part 2. Part 3 is a different story. You don't get anything there. You just have to answer in part 1 as well. So this is just part 2 for now. Yeah? So what do we do? Homework. So use the useful language below to answer the part 2 topic under it. Yeah, that's your general homework. Yeah, right. And then what do we do? So how do we do this? You get 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes maximum to speak. Yeah. Ideally, speak for 40 to 2 minutes. And then record yourself with Bukaru, which is a website here. You just go there and you have a recording button in the middle of the screen. Here, right? You press it, you record yourself, and then you have a recording. Yeah? You can save it like this. You get the link and you save it here. Understand? Okay? Do you have a question about this? I can't hear you very well. Can you speak a bit louder?
I don't have any questions, but
Okay. Yes?
uh, um,
Sorry, what? So that's okay. That's important because there's no better way to prepare quickly. Not a single thing you can do better. Well, okay, I can think of one single thing better, but it's much harder. This is easier and doable on your own, no matter where you are. So save the recording link here. Yeah. And then what do? We listen to your recording and write down what you hear. That's another thing, yeah, that you need to do. That's all, right? So this is the most important part, to listen to your recording and do that properly. But don't write an answer before recording yourself. Yeah, so you only have 1 minute to prepare. That means about 10 keywords, advanced keywords that you can think of. So it's that's what you can write down, right? You can write down about 10 advanced keywords that you can think of. So is it clear? Yeah, I'm gonna share it with you. And yeah, also can I ask you to add me on Zalo so you can ask questions about your homework?
Can you give me your phone number because
It's in the chat. Can you see it?
see,
So this is for homework. You mostly add me here to be able to ask questions about homework.
wait, I cannot add you.
Why not? Should be straightforward. There's should be no restrictions because I've got so many people who've added me.
No, no, no. Because
Doesn't add
when
me?
I add you, it's still considered you to be the stranger. So
Just send me a message, or yeah, just message me or try to add me.
say hi, yeah. And you get in the teacher.
Just so that if there's some sort of like a problem with the lesson, you can tell me. You can let me know. Okay, great. I'm gonna add you here as well. All right, that's it. And you can ask questions about homework there. I'm gonna put this link there for you as well. This is going to be our document to study. Yeah, this is where you do homework. Please don't forget this. Anything else? For now, that should be enough. When do you think we meet next time?
I can't hear you well.
When do you think we meet next time? Are you free, for example, on
Free,
Tuesday?
no, Tuesday. My
Uh,
schedule is tight, so I have to think about.
okay, you can think about that, but the best time to study is in the mornings. If you can somehow, you have somehow some time in the mornings, that is the best. Yeah,
I have to go to school
I
in
understand.
the morning.
Yeah, I get it. But if you can, maybe Saturdays or any other day for any reason you can find time in the morning, that would be best. Or afternoon, of course, like from 12
Yeah.
to 5. If there's any way you can find time, that would be great. But if not, well, then evenings only. I understand. Okay?
We meet at like um 3 or 4 on Sunday.
No, Sundays are off for me at the moment. Not possible. I think it's not possible. Like
I
mm-hmm.
in my schedule I cannot learn